Have you ever walked into a room and felt the weight of people's eyes on you? Not because you said anything, not because you did anything, but simply because you didn't fit. Maybe you think differently. Maybe you move differently. Maybe you just don't play by their little unspoken rules. And you notice it. The quiet stares, the whispers, the feeling that people don't know if they should admire you or fear you. Most people spend their lives trying to blend in, to be normal, to avoid standing out. But here's the truth Machiavelli understood. The ones who stand out, who break the pattern, are the ones who change the game. Being different makes you unpredictable. Unpredictability makes you dangerous. And dangerous isn't a bad thing. Dangerous means people think twice before crossing you. Dangerous means you control the room without even speaking. By the end of this video, you'll see why being different isn't a curse to fix. It's your deadliest advantage. People like to pretend they're open-minded. They'll say, "I respect people who are different." But the truth? Human beings are wired to fear what doesn't fit. It's survival instinct. If you don't dress like them, talk like them, think like them, they don't know where to place you. And when they can't categorize you, you instantly become a threat. Machiavelli knew this. He wrote that people fear the unknown more than the enemy they already recognize, because the unknown can't be controlled. It can't be predicted. That's why outsiders, those who don't follow the script, always make people uncomfortable. Think about it. At school, the kid who sits alone and doesn't try to blend in, everyone talks about him. At work, the colleague who doesn't laugh at the boss's jokes, people call them arrogant or weird. It's not because they're weak. It's because their difference disrupts the herd. And here's the twist. That fear you trigger, that's not rejection. That's power. Fear is just respect in disguise. Respect people don't want to admit they feel. When they whisper about you, when they side-eye you, when they wonder, what's their deal? That's the moment you've stepped outside their control. Most people fight so hard to blend in, never realizing they're throwing away the very thing that makes them untouchable. Your difference is your weapon. If you dare to hold it, it makes you dangerous. And history proves it again and again. Outsiders weren't just feared, they were remembered. They shaped the world. Which brings us to the next point, the misfits who carried this power and rewrote history. History doesn't remember the ones who blended in. It remembers the ones who refused to play by the script, the misfits, the outsiders, the ones people whispered about before they feared them. Take Joan of Arc, a teenage girl, illiterate, poor, walks into a war and commands armies of men twice her age. The church and the crown didn't know what to do with her. She didn't fit into the role of obedient girl. And because she was different, she became untouchable for a time. That difference made kings listen and soldiers follow. Or think about Steve Jobs. He was called abrasive, arrogant, impossible to work with. He wore the same black turtleneck every day. People laughed at him when he said he'd put 1,000 songs in your pocket. He didn't care. His refusal to blend in didn't just make him stand out. It built an empire that changed the way the world listens to music, communicates, even thinks. Machiavelli would have understood all of them. He wrote that fortune favors those bold enough to be different because they create the conditions others are too afraid to imagine. When you look back at history's great shifts, it's always the same story. Someone broke the pattern, and the world bent around them. But here's the dark side. Being different also paints a target on your back. Caesar was stabbed by the very men who claimed to love him. Joan of Arc was burned alive. Jobs was kicked out of his own company before being begged to return. When you refuse to blend in, people don't forget you, but they don't forgive you either. And that's exactly why being different makes you dangerous. You're not just another face in the crowd. You're a disruption, a question mark they can't solve. And in power games, that's worth more than being liked. So the real question is, how do you survive as the outsider when the world wants to destroy what it can't control? Here's the ugly truth. People don't attack you because you're wrong. They attack you because you remind them of their own weakness. When you're different, when you don't play by the rules, they can't predict you. And human beings hate what they can't predict. It makes them feel powerless. So what do? They label you. They mock you. They turn your difference into a crime because that's easier than facing their own insecurities. Look at history. Look at your own life. It's the same pattern. The friend group that talks behind your back when you stop following their drama. The office that suddenly calls you difficult when you stop saying yes to every pointless task. The family member who says, "You've changed," the moment you set boundaries. What they really mean is, "I don't know how to control you anymore, and that scares me." Machiavelli warned about this. He said people are selfish, jealous, and quick to betray when it suits their interests. When you break free from the script, you expose those ugly truths. You become a mirror they don't want to look into, and instead of dealing with their reflection, they'd rather smash the mirror. That's why the ones who stand out are always attacked first. But here's the flip side. Their attack is proof you're doing something right. No one wastes energy trying to tear down the ordinary. No one bothers to fight the forgettable. If they're coming for you, it means you've touched a nerve. You've crossed the line from one of us to one of them. And that's exactly where your power begins. So don't fear their hatred. Recognize it for what it is, a confession. A confession that you're not like them, and that difference makes you dangerous. Which leads to the next piece of the puzzle. If normal is weakness, then being different is survival. Let's break that down. The most dangerous person in the room is rarely the loudest. It's the one who says nothing, watches everything, and leaves everyone guessing. Machiavelli knew this. He warned that the more you talk, the more weapons you hand to your enemies. Every word is a clue. Every opinion, a potential weakness. But silence? Silence is armor. It makes people uncomfortable. It forces them to fill in the blanks with their own fears. Think about it. In every group, there's always that one person who barely speaks. But when they do, everyone listens. Why? Because mystery creates gravity. The unknown is always heavier than the obvious. Stalin mastered this during World War II. While Churchill was giving speeches and Roosevelt was charming allies, Stalin would sit stone-faced, barely saying a word. That silence was terrifying. No one knew what he was thinking, what he was planning, and because they didn't know, they assumed the worst. That assumption gave him power. You can use the same principle. Next time someone disrespects you, don't rush to defend yourself. Don't over-explain. Just pause. Let the silence hang. The longer you wait, the more they squirm. Because in that moment, they realize you're not playing by their rules. You flip the power dynamic without lifting a finger. Mystery isn't about being fake. It's about being unpredictable. If people can't pin you down, they can't box you in. And unpredictability makes you dangerous. A loud enemy can be studied, tracked, countered. A silent enemy, they're a nightmare. They could strike anytime, anywhere. That's why fear always grows in the dark. Here's the Machiavellian rule. Don't broadcast your every thought. Don't explain every move. Speak less, watch more. Let your silence become a weapon, and your mystery, the shield that keeps you untouchable. And once you master silence, the next step is even darker. Learning how to turn betrayal, hate, and disrespect into leverage. That's where real power begins. So here's the real game. Being different isn't just about surviving, it's about flipping that difference into power. Because once people realize they can't control you, they'll do the only thing left. They'll follow you. Think about every leader who shaped history. They weren't carbon copies of the crowd. They stood apart. They broke patterns. And because of that, people couldn't ignore them. Difference creates gravity. The more you resist blending in, the more people are drawn to you, whether they admit it or not. Here's how it works. When you carry yourself as if you don't need validation, people start giving it to you. When you speak less but with certainty, your words spread further. When you stop trying to fit in, you stop competing, and that instantly puts you above the competition. Ordinary people fight for scraps. The dangerous ones, they make others fight for their attention. Machiavelli would call this leverage. Your difference is leverage because it forces others to adjust to you. You're not chasing approval, you're setting the standard. The moment you stop being one of them, they have to decide. Resist you or respect you. And over time, resistance collapses. Respect wins. Even in daily life, it's the same. At work, the person who dares to say no commands more respect than the one who says yes to everything. In relationships, the one who doesn't beg for attention becomes the one people obsess over. In power dynamics, detachment is magnetic. People always want what feels scarce. And here's the dark secret. The moment you stop needing to be understood is the moment people start needing to understand you. That's the flip. That's when your difference stops being a target and starts being a throne. So don't kill your difference. Don't sand down your edges to be liked. Sharpen them, use them. Because the very thing that makes you too much for some will make you unforgettable to everyone else. And in the Machiavellian world of power, unforgettable is the first step to untouchable. Now, let's bring it all together. Because there's one final rule that ties everything back. How being different makes you dangerous in a world addicted to sameness. Here's the truth Machiavelli would whisper if he was alive today. The moment you embrace being different, you stop playing the same game as everyone else. And that's what makes you dangerous. Because sameness is safe, predictable, and easy to control. But difference creates uncertainty. It makes people wonder what you'll do next. It forces them to adjust to you. That's why every empire builder, every revolutionary, every icon of power had one thing in common. They refused to blend in. But here's the price. When you choose difference, you will be judged. You will be misunderstood. You will be attacked. People fear what they can't categorize. They'll label you arrogant, cold, weird, even dangerous. And you know what? They're right. Because dangerous is exactly what you need to be in a world that preys on the weak and the predictable. Dangerous doesn't mean cruel. It means untouchable. It means you can't be broken by gossip, by betrayal, by disrespect. It means you decide the rules while everyone else scrambles to figure them out. That's real freedom. The kind Machiavelli believed only the bold ever taste. So the question is simple. Are you willing to carry that weight? To stand apart, even if it means standing alone? Because the crowd might mock you, envy you, even hate you, but they'll never forget you. And eventually, they'll follow you. If you've been told you're too much, too intense, or too different, here's your reminder. That's not a weakness. That's your weapon. Don't dull it, sharpen it, own it, because the world doesn't remember the copies. It only remembers the originals. So next time you feel the urge to shrink, to explain, to fit in, don't. Pause. Hold your ground. Let the silence do the talking. Because in that moment, you'll feel it. The dangerous freedom of being untouchable. Now it's your move. Will you keep blending in, or will you finally step into the power that comes with being different?